I know you want to carry on with...
Carry on my wayward son.
There'll be peace when you are done. You wanted to carry on with this leadership stuff.
Yes. No, I think it's, I think this is important because when we look at, and I want to get micro now because we kind of stayed with the philosophy of creational leadership, but I want to get kind of micro and put some situations in front of you and then kind of go from there. I think the first one would be, okay, I'm going to work on myself. That's what we said last episode, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I'm going to work on myself to make sure that I'm not being dishonest with myself. So I'm going to find all these, and maybe this is me getting away for a weekend and being in a mountain or renting an Airbnb. I've done this. For me, going to the beach is really important. And so I've taken a notepad and that's it, and stayed at a beach and set out, outside or be in an Airbnb or hotel room where I'm looking at water. So I have to look at water to really, really think. And that's just me. Maybe it's because I'm Cancer, water sign. I don't know if you believe in all that stuff. Who knows? But I'm at that point. I've done that. I've done the self-reflection. I know these are things that I need to work on personally in my life. So, and I feel like, yes, I'm evolving, but I can start on this leadership journey to serve others. As I think that's important, serving, not putting myself, my ego and all that. So now I'm at the point, I step into work. And so I have all these employees, and I think I want to kind of hit different employees. I'm going to throw some scenarios at you, and then we can kind of look that way. So let's say I have an employee that's constantly fucking up. We'll start there. This is an easy one. So they're just constantly, they mean well, but maybe they don't have the intelligence to, so they're just too eager and they keep screwing up.
Some people could have to the process that they're working on, assembling a widget, whatever it might be, they may have a lack of attention to detail. Or they may think that by going faster, rushing the job to get more out at a lesser quality is exactly what needs to be done because we're trying to meet certain quotas. Well, you can't meet a quota with broken widgets. And if they're not at the point of understanding that it's better to put the quality in rather than just pump out quantity, well, that's then a conversation that you would have to have around, well, why is it that you need or you feel that things have to be done in this manner? Why is it that you feel that things aren't continually working out in this job process? Why are you creating the same errors over and over? And then you can work with them and let them define a plan for how they can come to solve that error that they continue to create. So
I'm gonna play the employee in this situation. So you asked me that question. Here's what I'm gonna say, because we're gonna do these scenarios. I think this will be great to help people. So I'm gonna say I'm stressed out all the time. I got so much going on. I'm overloaded, because I feel like this is what somebody would say. And I'm trying my hardest, and because they're gonna get in defense mode, and I'm trying really hard, and Alexander, I'm trying really hard, and I'm working to the best of my ability, and things just keep getting fucked up. But mainly, I'm just like super stressed out.
So I'd have to ask you, Jason, when you're here putting together this widget or doing your job, is it the job that's stressing you out? Is there something going on personally that is stressing you out, that is playing into how you're actually doing your work? And it's making you create these errors because your focus is split? When you come into work, I would ask for your attention to facilitate a task efficiently, safely, right? And with the highest quality you could do. But if something externally is going on that is hindering that process that you've defined for yourself, and we've come to agree upon for that definition, well, then I would ask that you talk to me about it, and let's see if we can find a solve. I don't need you to be frustrated here. You shouldn't come to work to be frustrated. What is it? What's happening?
Okay, so I'm going to say personally at home, everything's like, I'm having to run and go to daycare and pick up my 2 kids. And I'm always like, stuff happens at like 3:30 when I got to go pick them up at 4. And then I just get in a rush and I try to just do it because, I want to make sure that I'm doing good and figure it out. I think also, sometimes I don't other people make fun of me here at work and I don't feel appreciated. So I think there is some things at home that's causing this structure with time, and I just feel like I don't have enough time. And then, and I don't know what it is, maybe because I keep fucking up, but people are here at work are making fun of me.
When I hear things like that, it sounds like life seems to be in a rush. And when you rush your personal life, you naturally carry that over into your work. And that will go into your job processes. Your children require attention. You're there to help them evolve. But you also need to give attention to yourself. And I'm not going to tell you what's best for your own living, but if you would like to tell me that you need more time to take care of your children, or to have a little bit more leniency for coming into work, because giving you that flexibility of that time, removing the rigidness of getting to that job in that regiment, would afford you more focus when you're here so that we can do and produce goods and services better, then let's do that.
So, okay, so let's flip it back this way. So let's say you give that would be great if I could get out here by 3:00. That'd be awesome. So let's say they do this, but they abuse, because this happens all the time. These are leaders listening to this, and they're going to. So you give them more leeway. You gave in.
Yep.
You gave them the opportunity. They're leaving at 3, but now they're just abusing it.
Okay.
So what conversation do you have with them next?
Jason, I gave you the opportunity to do this, to make it work with your lifestyle, and now you've taken the opportunity and abused it. I'd like you to take your things, and you're all done here working at this company. It's as simple as that. You afforded someone the optionality, the free will, and the flexibility to take more time to manage their home life. And then they took that and they ran with it to abuse the flexibility and the lack of work here at the job.
So
we created an option for you to afford you more focus to perform better. Because when you perform well and you're not screwing up all the time, well, your employees aren't going to, make fun of you for screwing up constantly. And you also have more time with your children. But now you're using this thing for your personal life and abusing it and misleading the focus here. So the time, resources, attention, and flexibility I've given you, you've taken now for gain beyond the original reasoning for why I allowed that flexibility. And from that, I would ask you to leave.
So I love this. And I appreciate you going here, because this is very, very important as a leader. A lot of leaders don't want to so-called fire people. I almost look at it as being in a relationship with somebody, but they don't want to fire somebody because they're so, and so they just allow this passive aggressiveness, this lack of work, this dishonesty, because that's what it is, is dishonesty, to just fester and continue to go. Where you're being really quick and, I'm going to use an old statement, and nipping it in the bud.
Sure.
Really fast. And they always talk about that, hire slow, fire fast.
Well, consider this. When you first came to me, Jason, you said you were having trouble at home. And you were also having trouble that played over into the job. I offered you an option to remedy that through your own free will and choice.
I love that. Yes.
You've taken the option for a more perverse gain and abused it. You've been dishonest to me in what I've allowed you to do, and you've been dishonest to yourself with your own work.
But that's something they have to fix internally inside of themselves.
I've offered
the reason you fired them, the reason you fired them so quickly is because people need to understand this. They need time to go evolve.
Yeah, I don't need you here to figure it out and continue to make mistakes dishonestly and then pass it off as a mess and then have that sort of festering ideas and emotions play off into the work habits of everyone else. You need to go figure that out for yourself now.
Perfect.
I offered you an option to figure it out outside of work so you could come in and focus, but now you've taken it and you've abused that option. And now it's time for you to go. It's nothing personal. You just haven't learned appropriately what needs to be done at the right time.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so another scenario. Let's get into, because this one's really common. And I think a lot of people, so the belief system of being a victim.
What, because I fired you?
No. I'm not talking, I'm talking a different person. So a different person comes in, let's say, so he comes in and he turns around and he's always a victim, like always shifting blame, always like why didn't this project get done, or why didn't this get done? Well, then it's either your fault, it's Bill's fault, it's Susan's fault, It's not my fault. You know, that victim mentality, or there's tons of excuses all the time.
I have a manager that comes in, or someone responsible for managing something or a group of people. And then as a leader, I ask them a question. So, Joe or Jane, why has this not been accomplished like you have said it would be accomplished, defined within the priority of which you're required to do in your position? You are responsible for these outcomes, correct? Excellent. So, if there's a group of people underneath you or a broken machine that is not working, that would hinder the outcome that is required, defined by your job, well, then you need to go fix that, not blame it for not working. It's your responsibility to manage that thing, not to pass the belief that somebody else is to blame for something that you are responsible for. Is that clear?
So you're putting 100% responsibility back onto them.
Correct.
And you're using it like in a very, you're using it in a very good format because you're showing it like a machine. So it's not it's very figurative, not some just pie in the sky out there. You're saying, you know, here's a group of people that you lead. Here's the project that you have. So you're trying like, this is your own little machine.
Yes.
And this machine is broken.
Yes.
So why is it broken? Well, that's your responsibility as a leader.
Yeah. I don't need to be told that somebody's to blame for it. I really want to know that you have the wherewithal and responsibility to do what you said you were going to do. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to go point fingers at the machine or the team. You are responsible for the management of that team and the machinery, that system, albeit simple or complex. So the question is, can you manage that? Or are you going to believe that it is somebody else who is the demise of this and you are a victim to the group that you are responsible for leading?
Okay, this is going to get hard. Let me tell you this. What if they blame you?
Blame me for what?
That the problem is you.
Explain to me and show me quite clearly and precisely how your job, through your own dictation and your responsibility, which I have given to you, to manage this department or this system is my fault. Yes. I have given you all options and all resources to take care of this. I've given you the responsibility and the power to do so. Tell me how this is my fault. Because
this is what the victim does. The victim shifts blame. So if it can't shift blame on Bill or Susan or the machine or at some point it's going to shift blame to the other leader. Well, you see what I'm saying? Because that's just a philosophy that they live in their life.
I'd say, now please continue to look that because I have said that it is not working because of your lack of management of these folks, and you begin to blame them, and then I bring to light to you that it is not their fault, and then you begin to point the blame over to me, you have now repurposed your false mindset back onto my leadership. I've afforded you
your false mindset back onto my leadership.
My leadership.
Yes.
You've taken the projection that was onto them through your state of belief and now passed it over to me. Have you done any internal reflection on your own responsibility for the management of this problem? Is it possible for you to solve it first before you really can truly and surely say with absolute truth and fact that it is my fault?
Because when someone gets fired, and I've been fired once in my life, but when someone gets fired, you always want to be angry and shift the blame. You want to do this victim state. And you want to blame the leader first, and then you're going to blame the corporation, and then you're going to blame those that you work for. You know, but people do that in anger. You know what I mean? So if it gets hostile and people get angry, you know, I'm not hostile in a physical way, but mentally, they're going to blame the leader. So you are going to, in this conversation, if they're honest with you, if they have a victim mindset and they're honest with you, they're going to say it's your fault.
Of course.
Eventually, they're going to get to that. Well, so as a leader, how do you listen to them when they're slamming you?
That's exactly what you do. You listen. And if it doesn't stop, then you stop them. You afford them the brief amount of time to air their grievance, to air their illusional thoughts and their falsehoods without any lack of evidence that they have. And then you speak to them about what is evident, what is truthful. And if they continue to badmouth, you are not fit for this position.
See, this is why the Marine Corps helped me out so much, because their leadership, military leadership, is this way. It's like regardless of the resources, because you always have limited resources. You have a huge bureaucracy, but it doesn't. None of that matters.
No.
At the end of the day, especially in the Marine Corps, at the end of the day, it's your fault. You didn't accomplish this mission.
That's on you.
That's on you. You didn't get creative enough to go find resources. I mean, I've gone into other places and said, okay, thank you. I need to take this. I'm going to use this. I'll bring it back. But there's ways around.
Somebody dictated the margin of work you're allowed to work within. They didn't limit it and say, go do something with no resources. They said, this is the task. No one talked about the resources.
No.
They just asked that the task was done. And everything else falls under the guise of the United States government.
Right.
I just need you to go achieve this task, get it done.
Yeah, it's like mission first, and then next would be risk.
Yeah.
You don't want to get people killed. So that's your responsibility as a leader to say, how are we going to accomplish this mission? How can we do it with the least amount of risk? And then, and efficiently can we complete this, and how quickly can we take it? You take all of that, you gather that together, then you have meetings with your teams. And then from there, it's time to execute.
Yeah.
And you have to be so sure. You have to be so sure in your mission, and not just in the mission, but in your planning, that you execute flawlessly. Because if you fuck up, somebody dies. That's how it goes. So whether you may not be 110% sure as a leader that this is going to go right, because you can't, there's so many variables that are out there. But if you play the victim, you're going to get people killed.
Of course you get people
and
killed.
I can't go back to the colonel or the general and say, hey, well, this mission fucked up because of Susan and Bill and Jim.
Yeah.
Or because of you, General.
Yeah, but Joe's dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Jason, you were responsible for that unit. And you taking a victim mentality, saying you don't have the resources, or you went into this blindly and you didn't think it through. Why are you putting that blame on me? You were the one standing there with the gun, going in there. You're the one that's supposed to be in defense of the group. You're the one that's supposed to lead them, articulate, plan, understand ahead of time. That's what you were trained for. This is the dictation of your job.
So the colonel would turn back to me and say this, because this is great.
Yeah.
This is great leadership. The colonel would turn out to me and say, well, obviously your guys weren't trained, and whose fault is that?
Correct.
That's yours, Jason.
Yeah. The machinery's broke.
You're fucked all the ways around because of your lack of leadership.
Don't point blame. Go fix your machine.
Yes.
If I'm out there in the field with a rifle, do I blame the rifle for not shooting and defending me because it's not working well? It was my responsibility before I went out there to check my ammunition, my firing pins, cleanliness of the entire system, make sure it was oiled. Go through it. Build, take down, and rebuild multiple times over. Understand it flawlessly. Know it intimately in and out. And understand that some things at the end of the day may fall out of your control by chance. But 99.999% of the time, through the logical chain of cause and effect, it is your responsibility and your choice.
So me blaming the leader, so me blaming the colonel for whatever, is me not taking 100% responsibility for the actions that I have to complete.
Which you agreed to do.
Yeah, there's one there. I signed on the dotted line saying that I wanted to be in the Marine Corps.
This was your choice.
That was my choice, yes.
No one else.
I also accepted the mission when they said, can you do this, Jason? And I said, yes.
Okay, great. You agreed to this. Did I force you to take out student debt? No. You signed for it. You chose this. But you yell to your government to pay it off for you? You say these people are charging you too much interest? You knew ahead of time. They showed you all of this. You still make the choice. Do not play a victim to this system that you chose to be within through your own choice. You're asking to be irresponsible for something you chose to do.
Oh, that makes sense.
Whether it's at work or school, in the military, or in your relationships. You need to be responsible for your life. And so I would offer something to leaders out there who go to choose to hire people for their organizations. Find people who, no matter what, when the sun goes down and things go dark, will always be responsible for their actions.
Yes.
Those are the people that will learn to evolve. Those are the people that will evolve with your company. Those are the ones that will set a foundational culture that will define a positive gain for humanity, for whatever you're doing. Those are the people that will create those efficiencies over time. Those are the ones that will create truth within their organizations. Those are the ones that will remove those hierarchies. Those are the ones that will do whatever it takes for the greater good, no matter what.
That's hard to find people like that.
Those people are hard to find. So maybe you should allow yourself the time and the patience to find those people.
Mm-hmm.
Do not rush into growth that is synthetic. Find the growth that is appropriate. Find the culture that is magnetic through that responsibility. Define that for yourself, define it for the company, so that acts as a filter to those that want to come and work at that place.
But I found as a leader, because I've been a leader for a long time, I found as a leader, when I'm not growing, it's because of me and my lack of leadership.
Yes.
And it's me getting static and staying in that nasty, shallow pool of that cesspool. You know what I mean? So whenever I'd say, okay, we didn't have growth this quarter, I always look back and say, one, it's 100% my responsibility because I'm the leader. So then you got to reverse engineer stuff, because it's so easy to blame external things all the time. Every leaders do that. And they go into a meeting, you hear leadership, and they're like, well, we went this direction and this didn't work, and we went this way and we tried this, but because of the weather or because of COVID or because of this or because of that, we weren't able to accomplish. So, and I always listen to those, and it's just like, oh Lord, like, here you are, blame game,
Throw it in your 10K. There's your investor report. These are all the things that happened around the world that says why we couldn't achieve our growth. Why don't you talk about what you can control and what you could have controlled and why you fell short of what you could control? Don't tell me about everything else. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in what you're responsible for and what you can truly act upon.
And are you a leader that can be creative in times of crisis?
Anybody can.
Yeah. I mean, look how many restaurants that flourished during COVID, and then ones that went under.
Yeah.
And then the ones that went under played the blame game. The other one said, oh, okay, well, let's create a virtual kitchen and you do more. We're going to do deliveries, and we're going to shift our whole, we've talked about that Seattle thing, which I was great. This super high-end restaurant that Microsoft and everybody went to, where they were having $300 bottles of wine and $500 plates, $200 plates and stuff like that. And they switched and made coffee and bagels in the morning that people could just pick up real quick with their mask on. And then lunchtime, they made the best burgers you could ever make. Well, what began to happen? Well, all these corporations began to purchase from them again because there was food that could be brought to them and everything else. So yeah, you got a $13 burger, and a $13 bagel and coffee. That seems high, but it's coming from, they're using their brand that they built for years and they adapted. But
what is the solution?
Can you see? And then they also made like high-end meals that you could take home and work. And then on YouTube, they had a piano player playing and you could watch it while you make the meal. But they got extremely creative. And they made more money than they've ever made.
Well, they're responsible for their outcome as a business.
Yes.
They had to adapt. Why? Because your solution is always adaptation. And if you don't want to be responsible, you will never adapt. You will point, play the victim, blame, shift, fear, and you will stand in your cesspool, and you will fester, and you will cease to exist.
Yeah, and you just won't be happy.
No.
I know. It's miserable when you're a leader and you're in that situation, especially when you recognize it. Ugh. It's like, oh shit, how the hell did I get here?
How did I get here?
I got to fix this. I've been in those situations. Now let's do one more scenario. I think this is great.
Well, let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
You've been a leader for a long time.
Right.
You've led people in the military. You've led people in the private sector. And then you look at me, half your age.
Right.
And I'm here leading with you.
Right.
How do you view me as a leader?
I think people would, I've told you this before, but I think people would, I don't see age. You know what I mean? I mean, how old was Mark Zuckerberg when he started Facebook? Whether you like him or not, it doesn't matter. How old was Bill Gates?
Young 20s.
Yeah. Michael Dell. Mm-hmm. I mean, all these guys, and we see technology a lot. So we look at that. So it's like, can this person be a leader? And what does that look like to me? One, for me, this is what I look at. This is what I've noticed in you is passion. For me, it's like if they're not passionate and I don't want to use the word believe, but maybe we could use it this way. But in what they've, like when you've told me about the creation of Turtle,
Mm-hmm.
you know that, and then you end up having to do everything in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like you created the marketplace, you built the website, you did everything in the
Right.
very beginning. I mean, because you believe in it that much.
Yep.
You know, you turn around and say, and you're passionate about it to the point to where you're not afraid to have conversations with people about it anytime, any place, anywhere.
Correct.
And you'll talk to somebody at the dog park, like that's how we met.
Yeah.
To the point of you know, talking to investors and asking for millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not afraid. That's the fear part. You know, you're not afraid to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
You're articulate in the way that you communicate, more articulate than I am. And you, so, I mean, yeah, I'm 47, you're 29. I wouldn't look at it and say, you know, I look at it and say, how is Alexander's leadership? You know, one, he has passion. Two, he has a work ethic. That's really important to me because I work really hard. So how's your work ethic?
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking badass. Okay, cool. I'm in. You know, number three is you're very transparent in everything that you're very, yeah, you can be to the point, maybe like almost where if somebody doesn't take it right, they would think that your truth is you being critical.
Mm-hmm.
But I it's refreshing to me. Maybe because I came from the military, so we were very truthful, almost in like sometimes in a sarcastic way,
Right.
you know, which may have been not the best way to put it out there, but at least it was honest and truthful.
That can be laconic or terse sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, you're being truthful.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're being untruthful and then being sarcastic or being passive aggressive or like, you know. And I think another thing is you make it all about Turtle, not about yourself. Even though my job is to brand you, to make it all about Turtle is all about Alexander, you know, because I felt that you're very brandable, so that's why I put it. But you still haven't took like the mini docs that we've done and all the branding, you know, it's almost like the T-Mobile guy, you know, wore the pink t-shirt and stuff. And he was good that way too. I don't feel like you haven't taken any of that and made a big ego about it.
No.
Like, I am Turtle, I am Alexander. You know, there's none of that. You're always mission oriented. You're not, I am the CEO, here's where I am. You know, I'm smart and I'm intellectual and everybody's dumb around me. You don't have that viewpoint. You're always about when you're correcting something that needs to get done, it's because the mission hasn't got accomplished that needed to be accomplished to move Turtle forward.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with the person. And I think people don't understand that when you're criticizing somebody, you know, it's not, and our values and philosophies align.
Correct.
You know, I've learned a lot from you. So if I can learn a lot from a leader, then to me, that creates respect.
Yeah.
So, but here's something, and this is the last one, and this is what you led me right into it. What if somebody doesn't respect their leader? So that's where you get into where the rubber meets the road then. And people will not have these conversations with their leader, one, and number two, they stay in a position. You know, what if you don't respect your leader? What should you do as another leader? Let's say, what if I didn't respect you? It's maybe my obligation to leave, I would think. But
well, you have an obligation to leave. You also, as a leader, and you do not respect me, you need to bring that to me.
mm-hmm.
We are working together,
Right,
to help another entity evolve. That entity is Turtle in this example.
Right.
You're not here to help me evolve. We're here to help this evolve for the rest of humanity as a tool. So if you do not like something about me, if you perceive something as of error with my leadership, well then as another leader, you need to bring that truth and understanding to me in conversation. You cannot be fearful of having that conversation or let it passively carry over into your comments or how you deal
or
with
the belief
choices I make.
system.
Correct.
You know, and then because I think there's a lot of people that don't like their leader, but they stay in that position because of a paycheck or the security in it.
And the security is a false belief.
Mm-hmm.
A paycheck is not security. Define for me once how money has been something that is secure.
Well, ask Lehman Brothers employees. How long had Lehman Brothers been around?
Precisely correct. You know, and so that's what we need to look at. So if you look at the other leader and you say, something about that doesn't align with me. Well, you have two options. You can stick around and have that conversation about why it doesn't align and try and come to an agreement, or you can choose to leave now. But that's on you as a leader, meeting another leader in conversation. But it requires great honesty. But do not let it carry over into belief system that I'm here for stability. And then let those thoughts, those very key driving, leading thoughts, carry over into everything within the culture and the relationship you have with that leader.
But see, for me first, if I stopped respecting you or I had an issue with respect for you, one, we'd have a conversation. You know that's what I do. We've had lots of conversations. But I would first look at myself and say, why am all of a sudden why am I all of a sudden disrespecting Alexander? Why would I have that? What is that belief that's in me right now that he changed?
And if they don't know how to ask that themselves, well, then in the conversation, I would ask them, how is it that you perceive me as a leader?
That's great. Yeah.
How is it that you perceive your relationship with me as an executive leading this company?
How do you perceive your relationship with the organization?
Correct.
That would be interesting too.
I'm interested in the perception.
But they should have this ability as a leader. You need to have that ability to come to yourself, and because more than times than not, it's my bias or belief of something that's wrong, and I can and most people I would say may not be self-aware enough to do this, and this is something I've learned, in my time. 10 years ago, I may not be self-aware, so I'm not blaming, but I'm just saying. I would see maybe it's my fault and I don't even need to have a conversation with you. I can fix it internally within myself. Number two, maybe I get to the root of it and I find like there's a situation that happened where you acted improperly and it caused me to start disrespecting you. Well, now I can come to you and say, Alexander, there was a situation where I felt like I was disrespected or you disrespected someone else or something, and it's caused me to kind of have this weird feeling about disrespecting you. Now we can have a conversation.
Correct.
Because you can say, well, maybe I was wrong, Jason, or your perception of that was this way. You didn't know I had a conversation with the person ahead of time before that.
Or maybe I did screw up and I can own up to it in front of you also.
Oh, and then that right there alone creates that being honest to be able to say when you make mistakes on both sides. Yeah. I mean, I've done that 100 times with you. It's like, oh shit, well, that was a problem. Or I didn't do that. I had that situation the other day and mislabeling things.
We screw up.
Yeah, that's just part of it, So you're like, you admit it, and then you move on and you try not to do it again. Mm-hmm. So, but I think it's you coming within yourself, owning the problem, having 100% responsibility for you, and then a lot of times that works everything out before you even have to have a conversation.
Generally,
but people that aren't that self-aware, now you got to have a conversation with them as a leader.
Now you got to take the initiative as the leader to then ask them about their perspective.
So let's wrap it up in this way. If I wanted to learn more about creational laws, and I want to learn more about leadership, what are some of the, besides number one, working on myself, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, what are some of the tools, assets that I could use to be able to learn these things?
Your best thing to do is go walk out in the woods and look at your relationship with everything that's around you. Just observe it as a third party. Remove yourself from yourself and look at how you are interacting with those things. And understand that interaction is exactly the same in a very truthful manner to allow nature to silently speak to you for how you should be operating with others. Fair. That's all you need to do. You can meditate, you can work on yourself, you can have self-awareness, do that. But another thing is also to live in that experience. And the easiest way to do it is you don't even have to go into the workplace. Just look at your relationship to nature around you objectively. Remove yourself from your ego for a moment and look at how you interact with this very complex system. And then carry that metaphor for your interaction into everything else you do.
That seems almost too simple.
Oh, life is that simple. We just make it complicated. And you know that.
Well, cool. Everybody, you can also listen to previous podcasts where we get into the creational laws. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many of those we have up.
Plenty.
Yeah.
And we'll do more.
Yeah, and we'll do more, but those can help you out a lot so you can understand the philosophy of creational laws. Those are really good. You can read the Raw series, and then the Billy Myers.
Yeah, the Play Iron Spirit teaching. You can read the White Sands incident.
Yeah.
We're trying to tee you up with material. It's just the question is, do you want to flip that light switch on?
Yeah, and there's a lot of material out there. Yeah, but you need to get the philosophy down so that when you read leadership books, you'll see bullshit in there.
Yeah.
You can learn from it and then pick the bullshit out.
Create that great filter.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to, what would be a reason that somebody would sign up for Tartle.co to help humanity. Because I want to plug Tartle since we talked about them so much.
You've asked me here in this conversation about my thoughts, how I would do things. Did you find it beneficial?
Yes.
Do you think the people who listen to it will find it beneficial?
Oh, of course.
Great. Well, that is data. The sharing of that data is beneficial to humanity. Helps people learn. Helps put them on their own path. Helps them make their choices appropriately. So why you should sign up for Tartle is the same reason why you listen to this podcast. You're here to evolve. And if you can help other people evolve at the same time you are evolving, you've now created a very unifying community of one.